Okay, there have been a lot of questions about executive orders. Trump has done so many, and people want to know, is that good? Because some people thought executive orders are bad. In fact, at WallBuilders, we do a lot of work with state legislators all around the nation, and there's even state legislators asking the question, is this a good thing? Should presidents be doing all these executive orders? So let's back up and look at this. Now, first of all, Joe Biden, people can look at and go, he did all these executive orders, or President Trump is now doing all these, and he's undoing Joe Biden's executive orders. So which ones were constitutional and which ones weren't? Or is the very nature of executive orders themselves, are those unconstitutional? Let's go back to George Washington. George Washington not only was the commander of the military during the American Revolution, he's the guy who is the chair during the Constitutional Convention. He's the one helping hold everything together as they're writing the Constitution. He then is chosen to be the first president, where we see how that actually works. And so, as the first leader of the executive branch, he actually did executive orders. And because he was the chair of the convention that did the Constitution, probably, if there was somebody that knew the role of the executive, and in this case, the role of the president in the executive branch, he would know that. The reality is executive orders are absolutely constitutional if they are directives for the executive branch. It would be no different than if you are the boss of a company, that you write a company-wide memo and it goes to all your employees saying, hey guys, just want to let you know this is what we're doing. It would be like Chick-fil-A putting out a company memo saying, hey, if someone says thank you, your answer is my pleasure. You are allowed, if you are the owner of a Chick-fil-A, you are allowed to tell your employees that this is the way you're going to respond when somebody says this, because they're your employees. An executive order can give any directive necessary to those in the executive branch. Where an executive order becomes unconstitutional is when it gives directives to things outside of its sphere of jurisdiction. The Constitution was very clear that there are three branches of government, and not a lot of people think they're co-equal. It's not really what the Founding Fathers said. It's not what the Federalists said. Not to get into that topic right now, but there are three separate branches and there are checks and balances. The legislative branch in Article 1, the judicial branch is Article 3, and then the executive branch is Article 2. They're the ones that do the executive order. So if an executive order does something to override the legislative branch or a piece of law, that's unconstitutional. If an executive order does something that interferes with the judicial branch and their process in courts, that's unconstitutional. But if it's things that fall within the purview of jurisdiction of the executive, that is a constitutional executive order. Now, we could go further and say that maybe a constitutional executive order does something to violate an inalienable right. Well, certainly that's incorrect, because there's a fundamental set of beliefs, the philosophy of the Founding Fathers, that you don't violate inalienable rights. But if the executive order is done as a directive for the employees of the executive branch, that is a constitutional executive order.